Randomizer is a module that sends triggers or randomly selected values to Logelloop user interfaces. Let's start by mapping Randomizer to the interfaces we want to control, and let's choose the type of signal we want to send to the remote interfaces. Value allows you to send values between the minimal and maximum values we have chosen. We can set an interpolation time in milliseconds between the current value and the target value. The interpolation curve is linear by default, but other curves are possible. In trigger mode, Randomizer sends a short signal to the remote interface. This is useful for triggering sounds in granular or granular, restarting modular loopers, reversing states, etc. The button mode allows us to activate an action for a fixed or variable and random duration. List mode allows us to randomly select values from a list that you have defined. We can set the probability of the action occurring by choosing a value between 0 and 100% for each channel. We can manually trigger the drawing of a value independently on each channel or on all channels at once using the trigger at the top of the button column. This general trigger can be sequenced to the rhythm of the Logelloop metronome. We can choose the number of triggers per bar independently of the metronome setting. Free mode allows us to emit triggers regularly, with the time between each trigger set in milliseconds. In random mode, the time between triggers is variable and falls between the minimum and maximum values we have chosen. By default, the sequencer mode starts and stops immediately and asynchronously, but we can choose to start at the next beat or the next measure of the Logelloop metronome. The button is yellow while waiting for the beat or the start of the measure, then turn red or grey when the randomizer becomes active or inactive. The mapped clock mode allows us to synchronize the randomizer clock to the playhead position of a looper or file player. After mapping the clock to the looper, we choose the number of triggers emitted during a loop duration. We can now trigger random events synchronized to the playhead position. To position the panners entirely to the left or right, list mode is the most appropriate. Let's Let's do the same thing to control the playback speed. Note that a list containing a single value would give a constant. Now we want to open or close the auxiliary send to feed the reverb from time to time. Trigger mode toggles the button state, which might be suitable, but we prefer button mode, which allows us to open the send from time to time for a short duration. The buttons on the far left can be used to disable the randomizer's master trigger. When the main trigger is disabled, the channel trigger remains functional and can be triggered by click or external mappings. Here, we use external clicks to assign a random speed to the looper, while the randomizer clock resets it every 500 milliseconds. Here is another example in which we use Randomizer to trigger sounds in granular tear. The first 4 channels of Randomizer trigger the granular tear triggers. The probability of a trigger occurring is 44%. Channels 5 to 8 choose the position of the grain that is played by these triggers. Finally, Channel 9 plays a grain with a fixed position on every beat.